All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. It's one of these days here where not a lot of movement, not a lot of pace of movement. We've seen two kind of semi moves come in, both news based, both speculation news based. One of them here with was with basically talk that. Looking for more time for a trade deal between the U.S. and China, and that Trump feels like he has more time, and wants to make a deal but doesn't feel pressured. It's the same drama. I mean, it's the same drama, and nothing really has changed in the drama, here today. So it's one where we'll see Fed Chair Powell a few times, next week, and we got a bump up on that announcement of one of his visits, which was really interesting. You don't typically see that. But maybe the algos are keying off of that right here. But bottom line, going into the weekend, most stocks are fairly flat to mildly higher. We've seen the banks kind of reverse and go a little bit higher this afternoon, and some of the consumer staples, like a Pepsi, utilities are leading the way today. So this isn't a rally where it's all built on this, really absolute positive expectation of trade war resolution. Utilities are leading the way today, and the XLU here is the top performing sector. So it is one where there is a mode of safety in terms of the move, but you can still look at transports and other areas. There's nothing bearish here. Right? This isn't something that you look at and go, wow, okay, there's some major trouble brewing right here. So it's a very interesting balance going into the close, and kind of like I've been concerned about, been worried about with a lot of stocks, option values, unless you're dealing with ultra short-term option values, or, it's just not changing all that much. But I still look at going into this weekend as I can go buy a stock, I can go buy a chart and a setup, and there's some risk-reward setups out there. But, do I really feel like it has validity with what's going on this weekend? I just don't. And so I'd rather be reacting on Monday to it than trying to figure out what to do with a position come Monday that's possibly going against me, because it's not a 50-50 proposition. Going into this weekend and trading options, it's not pick red or black, and it's just a 50-50 proposition. It's a 25-50-25 proposition, because 50% chance that nothing goes anywhere, right? 25% chance of big up, 25% chance of a big down, or a big enough move to move your options. Because if over the weekend it's just kind of ho-hum and the market opens flat, that's going to crush calls and puts in a big way. If it opens up big, obviously calls are going to pay off. If it opens down big, obviously puts are going to pay off. But it's not one of those where I go buy puts, I have a 50% chance. No, I have a 25% chance. 75% chance of loss, 25% chance of gain. You could argue it's 33, 33, 33, or however you want to put that metric. But bottom line is, it's still not one where the odds are in my favor. And so I need even a big enough move for that option to get into, my favor. So it could go my way a little bit, and I'm still in a losing proposition. So it's just one of those where we don't see this very often, going into a weekend like this. But it's kind of how I view it. For as much as I think AT&T goes higher, for as much as I think Under Armour goes higher, or Johnson & Johnson probably goes higher, for as much as I want to short Pepsi, right? And I don't have a short signal on Pepsi yet, just levels, but still haven't had any sort of short signal come in. But it's just one of those where I'm not going to take that risk going into the weekend. Now, the one thing I was willing to do is short the market today on a day trade of some end-of-month selling that could possibly come in. And so far, we just haven't seen it. And I haven't gotten a signal for it. And the two kind of news blips have, propped things up, and we don't see any of that real selling come in. It's been very, very light volume, more than half of the minutes under 2,000 in daily volume, so it's been an incredibly light volume in the futures market type of move here today. And ultimately, it could sell off into the close, but as far as for the challenge, I'm a little, I need to be in the position already if I'm going to be looking to get out. It is something where if we break 27.46, to buy some puts until the last minute of the market today probably will pay off, right? If we're going to see an end of month sell, we'll probably see a break of 27.46 on futures, and then kind of this roll downhill from there. But that's not going to be very playable for the challenge wise coming down to the wire here. So anyway, that's kind of how I'm looking at things, going into the weekend. I don't look at today and the price action on most stocks as being very game changing. I know the S&P is up 12 points, but the small cap sector is absolutely flat. Bonds are up. The VIX is flat. A lot of just the metrics out there are very flat here today. And, there are a few stocks that have moved enough to change option values, but most of those have some sort of news catalyst associated here with them, like an IBM, like an Under Armour, here in the market today, or even like the transport sector in general. So I'm going to go into the weekend here in cash, and going to look to get that cash into play come Monday morning. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff, and I don't think by the time it gets to Monday morning we're going to be talking about a move that's the be-all, end-all. It never is, but if you're expecting to wake up Monday morning and boom, everything's going to be pricing everything in correctly, I don't think that'll be the case at all. I think it'll be where next week fund managers are going to have some big decisions to make, and I think we could see some really big money moving throughout the week here next week. One thing that I'm really interested to see how it reacts this weekend is gold. And gold has kind of been building a little bit of a base here, a little bit of higher lows, trying to come in, but really hasn't gotten any kind of real rally mode where it can trade higher for multiple days in a row. It's had 2-day rallies, but that's about it. It's just not putting any of those kind of gold type rallies where it's able to gain day after day after day for 8 to 10 to 12 types of days. Like we see when gold is really ready to rally. But it's also holding up really well considering the U.S. dollar is hitting a new high, or near its highs here today. And so this is one of the first times that we've seen gold itself with a little bit of positive divergence to the U.S. dollar. And so if we see that there's some sort of deal in the U.S. dollar going lower, I would not be surprised if one of the more ghost type moves, less talked about type moves, more silent, but also pretty dramatic, happens in gold. If there's some sort of resolution. I don't think it's something where if there's no resolution and the markets drop that you can look and say, oh, well, gold's going to go up. Gold, for me, it's just absolutely not a fear trade. It's not a safe haven. What are you going to do with a bunch of gold if there's a big catastrophe, global catastrophe, right? What are you going to do with gold? Not a whole lot, right? You're going to make more money holding all the cigarettes and alcohol and food, right? So gold itself, it's one of those things that I know historically has had this safe haven mentality, but we've done plenty of videos talking about how that's gone. That's absolutely gone, and the metrics show that it's gone. And occasionally we will see, a big up day or big down day in the market and gold goes up. And, there's a little bit of fear on that specific day, but a general kind of fear trade, no, it's absolutely a currency trade. And so, that how that U.S. dollar reacts and how gold reacts, I think is going to be a really interesting over the weekend. And I do think whichever way gold reacts, it's probably going to continue to react that way over the course of the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and there'll be some nice trade opportunity there. But I'm going to wait for those things, and I'll look to assess those early Monday morning and, hit the gates running and, go out and assess what happens and how the price action's moving, where the options are, and look for some signals and some strategy in that, rather than try to just look at things now and say, well, the outcome of the meeting is going to potentially change the picture that I'm seeing pretty dramatically. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.